I mean, he seems to have found the balance now. Tammy Abraham's come in, proved that he scored goals last year. Looks like when they brought in Werner, Kai Havertz, looked like we're going to see the end of him. Pulisic was brilliant when he ended part of last season. Looks like Tammy might be pushed to the side, but he's pushed himself back to the front, and I'm pleased to see that because he really has affected
but it works well for Tammy and Werner, because Tammy can still stretch teams. We've seen Werner can come short and get the ball and run it through, he can progress it through that way. I think that once Tammy gets it even more in respects of the holding up play and the linking, and get the people who are playing alongside him to just continue to feed him, like Tammy will continue to score goals. I think it works perfectly with the way Timo's playing.
I think if you look at that graphic, if Roman Abramovich says to Frank Lampard and Marina Granovskaya, where's my money gone? You just show them that graphic, because that is a return on your investment. 2 of the 3 names at the top are where they've spent, what, over £120 million. The young player that had done well last season, and there were doubts about whether he would play. He's still managing to do it. And the player just under them, Hudson-Odoi, that they signed a new 5-year deal, signed to a new 5-year deal last season, he's scoring goals as well. But the interesting thing about, I mean, that graphic you showed a second ago with all the results, bottom left-hand corner, I covered the Chelsea, the Crystal Palace game, and I remember doing in my match report that if they keep Mendy and Silva fit, they have a huge chance of winning the league. And then in the very next week or so, Mendy was injured on international duty and Silva wasn't available. That's why they lost that game, because in the Southampton game, I covered that one as well, they were 3-0 down after 28 minutes. Werner put in an outstanding forward performance. He turned Yannick Vestergaard as if he just was not there. You know, Vestergaard just literally gave up the ghost and let him go on, and he scored a couple of terrific goals. But Kepa in goal was just abysmal, and Christensen also all over the place, and they tied themselves up in knots and conspired not only to draw, but they should have lost their game because Walcott missed an opportunity late on. And I thought there was a concern that Mendy was going to be out for an extended period of time, but they rushed him back for the following game. And that's why that clean sheet against United was so pivotal. It wasn't really about the points, because they knew they could win that group, but it was about getting a clean sheet, getting back on an even keel. In their last 8 games, they've conceded only 2 goals. That defence will be the platform for a title challenge, because we've just seen a second ago they can score goals. And I mean, I defer to Tim really. Kante just in front of the back 4.
Snuffs.
Yeah, to go away at Turf Moor. I mean, he decides that we're going to have loads of the ball, which they do against most of the teams they play, and they play one pivot, which is Kante. Kante doesn't want anyone else in there sitting with him. He just wants him, and he covers 2 men's jobs, and he gets it and he can pass it forward to the people who can play. Kante can play. I'm not disrespecting him, but he's very good at breaking the play up, and that's what he does to his best. And in forward areas, they've got Ziyech would come in and he's been brilliant as well. Pulisic is going to be back from fitness. You know, they've got no end of players who can change games, and they share their goals out. We talked about Tottenham reliant on 2 players, Son and Kane. Chelsea are not reliant on any of them, because they can all play and they can all score.
That's interesting, that one there.
That they've scored more goals than anyone else.
Because everybody knew that with what Chelsea have bought, everybody's thinking, oh my gosh, that's a bit top heavy. But now, like we've mentioned, they've put Kante back where we know Kante can play. You can see what Mason Mount does, and you can see why Mason Mount will play, whether it's for Gareth, Southgate.
He's having a fantastic season, Mason Mount, isn't he?
Fantastic season, and why he'll play for Frank. And it's really unfair in the way that he's being portrayed as, oh, the teacher's pet, the manager's. He warrants his position. He earns his position because of what he does in the games.
Do you know, last season, in December, the Champions League, I think they got past Lille. And they struggled to get past them, but they got past them. And Lampard said in the post-match press conference at Stamford Bridge, we want to go out and buy more experienced players. And we asked him in that press conference, what happens to the players like Mount, like Abraham, the young players you've championed? And he said, this is Chelsea Football Club. We have to have top competition for places, and it's on those players to fight their way into the team if we bring those players in. That's what Mount's done. That's what Abraham's done. Saw the numbers.
Reecejames
has been outstanding. Top drawer. I mean, Azpilicueta, the club captain, sits on the bench now because Reecejames has been so good and he can play in different positions. Fantastic.
Chilwell's come in and he's hit the ground running as well. So when you look at the defence, and Kurt Zouma alongside Thiago looks very solid. You can almost feel, obviously, the communication between him, like Thiago, Kurt Zouma, and the goalkeeper they're all French speaking. So that's very much solid. Then Kante in front of that, it's starting to take shape.
And there's only Ben Chilwell who's going to need to learn the language,
He just
isn't
needs to learn French. I can't believe he doesn't.
But in that game against Southampton, Mendy was speaking Spanish to all of the players, and we were asking azpilicueta afterwards, and he said, well, look, we've managed to find a common area that we can all understand. And we said, what about Chilwell? He said, no, he's fine, he can understand.
He knows enough.
But, you know, the funny thing is, Hoddle, we were speaking to him before, and he said the ball becomes your interpreter. And that's clearly what's happened, because they've got an understanding as a back five that they didn't have last season, which is why they were throwing so many points away, and they were in danger of throwing their top 4 place away. I think the investment in the summer was dependent on that Champions League football, and now they've got a team for the next 5 years.
Can they win the league?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd throw Chelsea into the mix as well, but especially when you look at the Liverpool's result against Leicester was unbelievable. It's fantastic with the players they had missing, and the way they beat them was so impressive. So you have to say that Liverpool are still going to be the team to chase down, especially now they've got top players injured who can relax.
Especially when you look at what they did in the Champions League, losing 2-0 Liverpool with those 5 changes, it feels very much that they are prioritising the league if they've got a thin squad through injuries.
If there was going to be a test, Kels, it would have been against a Leicester side that have got like the midfield's very good. You know what I mean? We know what Jamie Vardy does against the top 6 teams.
7 goals in 11 games against Liverpool previously. They'd won all of their previous 6. They'd won 6 of the previous 9. They were in outstanding form, and I agree.
And they honestly swatted them, and Liverpool are still going to be the ones to chase. But if I'm Tottenham, Chelsea, obviously Man City have got still, for me, I've got a bit to do. But you know, even Leicester, Leicester will still be.
Well, they're level on points with Chelsea.
Absolutely, I feel that all those teams, like I say, Chelsea, Tottenham, especially Man United, if they can get on a run, get it really good, everybody should still be in and around trying to go for this. They should be.
Why are you shaking your head? Which bit of that
I think you went a bridge too far. I mean, with the Man United shout, I think you went.
Well, the thing about it is that the reason why I would say that with the Man United as well is because of what they should be doing with the squad that they have got.
Yeah, I
honestly.
I mean, they should be, but they give themselves so much to do. But I think they're ahead of where they was last year.
Yeah.
They're ahead of where they was last year, and they finished third.
You cannot write off a club like Man United with the players that they've got.
You also need to look at who the runners and riders have played already, and that's why this game coming up for Chelsea against Tottenham is going to be so significant for them, because then you'll get an idea of where both those sides are in terms of the challenge.
Do you know that list of fixtures there? Why it's so key is because Giroud came off the bench the other day to score the winning goal against Rennes. What that means is that the European games in that list are not now as significant. So he can rest players, he can use squad players, and he can use the A-list, if you like, players for the Premier League games. That means that fixture list is not as daunting. I think it's 8 games in the space of a few weeks, and it would have been tough had they not established their place in the knockout stages.
And if you look at their form as well now, that's not a bad run of games for them. No. You know.
Did you answer your own question? Do you think Chelsea can win the league?
I think they can. I think anyone finishes above Liverpool, I think they win the league.
Yeah, and can Chelsea do that? Yeah.
I think they possibly can, I think they have to keep their key men fit. And for me, the key men, a lot of people would argue, in forward areas, I think the key man is Werner. I think that Kante has to play. And the goalkeeper has to be there all the time. And Thiago Silva has to play the majority of games.
They're not beating Liverpool.
Because we've got a tiny bit of time left, and I wouldn't normally do this because, you know, it's Thursday and it's quite early, but predictions for the Chelsea-Tottenham game. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with a draw in that game.
Okay, score draw?
Yeah, probably 2-2 or something. I fancy a draw in that game.
I think Tottenham just soak it in as they've been doing. Chelsea have all the possession. Tottenham score first, hold on to something. Chelsea scored late, 1-1.
Okay, what do you think?
I think Spurs might edge it, you know. I think the Mourinho factor, because if you look all over the pitch, there are really close matchups. But I think Mourinho's experience, he might just pull something out of the hat that enables Spurs to edge it 1-0.
We're going to learn so much, I feel, from this game between Tottenham and Chelsea. Not just about their title challenges, but about the strengths and weaknesses, how those sides are developing under Jose Mourinho and Frank Lampard. Thank you very much to Darren and to Tim for joining us. Righty and I are back again next week. It's been a bit all over the place over the last few weeks, but we're back into the groove. We've had our final